Welcome to Wake, a cold reading of James Joyce's Finnegans Wake, just to hear it out loud. Join Toby Malone and TJ Young, along with some special friends, as we puzzle our way through what we once thought was an unreadable book to produce a surprisingly listenable podcast. It is Wednesday, September 25th, 2024. It has been 131 days since we have started reading, with 354 pages complete of 628, meaning we have 274 pages left to go and are 56.37% of the way through Finnegans Wake. Welcome to episode 24 of Wake, the podcast equivalent to Jack Bauer, which uses up every second, never stops for break, and always comes through in the end to help fulfill a long-held bucket list item. Reading James Joyce's Finnegans Wake out loud just once. I'm your host, Toby Malone, joined once more by the man who puts more into 24 hours than anyone I know, TJ Young. Hi, TJ.
Hi. I don't know if we should brag about that, about my workaholic skills.
Well, you do what you have to do.
I do. It's funny because a friend of mine, we were talking about her wedding, and unprompted, she says, you've been working this hard since I met you in high school. And I was like, that sounds bad.
Yes, and that's why you were the only person I thought of when I was trying to find someone who would read Finnegans Wake with me in their spare time. So we all win.
I'm happy to be here, though.
I'm so happy you're here too. And I'm also happy because here with us in the third week of the Toby's Former Students Month is the very student who went from one of my most disappointing students to one of my most impressive students over the course of only 2 semesters. It's Benson Smith. Hi, Ryan.
Hello. You're really putting me on blast, but
of course.
I can't say I'm surprised.
Well, I mean, you have the distinction of getting the lowest grade I've ever given to anyone for a midterm exam. Can you tell me the number that you got for that midterm exam in theatre history?
7.
7 out of 100.
I got a 7 out of 100.
Yeah, it was maybe not your finest point. I remember when you wrote the exam, you sat there and it was a 2-hour exam, and after 25 minutes you got up and handed in your assignment and then strode purposefully out of the room. And I thought, man, I have a genius in my class. This kid wrote that whole exam. And then I looked and realized that you'd answered 3 questions and then quit. But then we fast forward. Suddenly you had a change of heart. You had a change of motivation. And you decided
that motivation was graduating college.
That's right. But then you started working
getting
hard.
Kicked out of the school, basically.
Yeah. And so you went from a student who I was very worried about to being the student I relied on more than anyone else. And when you graduated from Oswego, what did you put on your graduation cap?
The front of the test where you had written the 7, and then after the fact, because you don't give the tests back, but for dramatic effect, you did write "see me" at the bottom.
That's right.
As you handed me the paper back like over a year later, and so I glued that to my graduation cap and put rhinestones around it.
It was an amazing thing, yeah. So that
it was hard.
I felt very touched. You ended up TAing for me a couple times at Oswego, and and worked with me as a dramaturg and did lots of different things. So if you had have asked me in that first semester if you and I would still be in touch all these years later, and if you'd be one of the students I'd reached out to work on this podcast, I wouldn't have believed you. So very glad to have you here.
I'm glad to be here for the redemption arc,
Yeah. As a person who did not read any text in college for any class, we're really reading ourselves.
We're really in for it, yeah.
Not a skim, not a glance, not a...
No.
But, you still graduated.
I did. I didn't do it pre the 7 on the midterm. Post 7 on the midterm, I did read my assignments, but it was pre that I did not read anything. Well,
pre that, I mean, even the years before that, you were an acting major.
Yes. And they don't know how to read.
Hey, you said it. I didn't say that. What was the What was the play that you were the lead character in? It was some ridiculous adaptation. What was it called?
It was called The Space Pirates of the Planet Penzance.
Stop it. I refuse. I refuse right here on this podcast on September 25th to ever hear that ever again. I rebuke that.
It
But you know
made a
what?
lot of sense, actually.
I
Once it
remember
happened, it made a lot of
photos from
sense.
that production. I remember photos from that production.
Yeah, and there was robots, and I think the production design was quite good.
Yes.
But I didn't see the show, but it was a legend. The fact that it actually happened.
And the only reason it did happen was because the dramaturg at the school at the time jokingly said, "What if we set it in space?" And everyone took her seriously.
Amazing. See, this is the power of dramaturgy, folks. This is amazing. I love it.
It changed the course of my life forever.
Well, it took you away from being an actor and
Yeah.
shoved you over into being a stage manager and then into being a dramaturg. So
yes,
here we are. Yeah. And now reading Finnegans Wake.
Mm-hmm.
Quick, that production happened in 2016, if I'm correct, right?
Yes.
And I might have just stumbled onto the Wix page where there are photos. But, you know, I'm going to keep that to myself. That's for me now.
Yeah.
I do see a photo of you, Ryan.
Yes.
And it may or may not make it into the show notes, folks. So it's just...
the photos?
If you're interested in seeing the photos, then come to our Patreon. It's totally worth it because Patreon's free. So, links going into the chat as we speak.
Amazing.
None of this, I will say, is shade on anyone involved in the production. The fact that it exists at all is kind of a miracle. But it's always good to have a touchstone we can go back to point to where Ryan's come from and where they are now. So I'm very pleased to have that. So tell me a little bit, do you have any kind of relationship with James Joyce and Finnegans Wake?
Well, you know, I've told you off the pod about my finding of this book.
That's
finding
right.
a physical copy of this book.
I think I recounted it in one of the episodes earlier. I think I went into great detail, but tell us again. You were really, you really had a hard time.
I live in New York, and so I'm like, oh, there's bookstores everywhere. Someone has to have a copy of this book. Used, new, anything. I could not find a physical copy in a store, no matter how hard I tried. One day I went to 15 different stores. Like, all I had to do that day, I had nothing to do, so I'm just walking around, going into bookstores. No one had it. Anytime I asked, people kind of looked at me like, oh, really? And I was like, yes, really. I did find a lot of copies that were like pre-annotated. But I was like, that's not what I want. I was like, I don't need all of that. I was like, I just need the Penguin Modern Classics, you know, softcover edition. I also found a lot of rare editions that were like $300 to $400, and then I was like, that's not what I want either. And yeah, I got a lot of weird looks when I asked. And then I bought a copy online from Pango Books, which is like a reseller website, and the seller ghosted me. And so they gave me a refund. And I had to buy another one, but I waited like 2 weeks. Like, I just kept waiting for this book to ship, and it never did. And so they were like, here's your money back. So I had to find another one. So then it was very quick from there. I got it within like 3 days, but now I have it. It's mine. It's in my hands.
And have you had a chance to flip through it at all?
I've listened to the first 2 episodes. So I've gotten through all of book 1, chapter 1.
Right.
And it makes me question my intelligence. And it's, like you said, it's my weekly humbling. You know, it really makes me think a little too much.
It does. Well, the key is partially, if you're thinking too much, then maybe you need to gear back on that, because it's not so much about thinking too much. It's just about allowing it to happen to you. And then once you get into book 2, that's when things start really getting funky. So the section we're going to read today is part of that. So that'll make you dream back of the accessibility of book 1.
Perfect. I can't wait.
You'll be great. Just don't be like me, catch the pun halfway through, stop, and be like, I'll question your entire life and why you didn't think of the pun, and then be like, oh, wait, I'm still reading out loud. Because that's what I do.
Yeah. It is just good just to take it syllable by syllable and work your way through. And I mean, how are you feeling about the read? Are you feeling excited or nervous?
I'm feeling great.
Good.
I feel amazing.
Fantastic.
I'm ready to go.
Good.
Because you know what? I feel like this podcast is perfect for me because I would do a lot of things out of spite. And, you know, I'm on this journey because I will finish this book with you all.
I will say that we are reading a little bit out of spite ourselves. The purists who thought we were going to quit early, and no one actually said that, but those purists are all in our head. We assume that. Yeah, I think there are people out there who are going, you'll never make it. I think TJ, you've talked to some people who have questioned
the scoffs, the deep from the diaphragm scoffs, and then they're like, "You, a modernist?" I'm like, if you don't leave me alone right now.
You teach in a fully fancy school, so you, so you know,
I do.
You got to expect those people.
They're like, "Oh, really?" And I'm like, "Y'all, chill out." And, you know, when I tell them like, yeah, I wrote a play based on like my reactions to Kubla Khan, they're like, Kubla Khan, really? I'm like, yes, like, chill out. You know?
Amazing. I just imagine everyone who works at your school to have monocles and drinking.
You would think so,
yeah,
you know,
martinis while they tie their ascots.
If they drank martinis, I think they'd actually be cooler, you know. So
right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So speaking of cool, though, just to segue a little bit here, is that one of the things we didn't get to talk about a couple episodes, because so 2 episodes ago we had Ryan's former classmate Kahari Constantine here reading, and TJ was sick, and so you missed the 6th and 7th Thunder words that appeared within Finnegans Wake. There are 10 of them. We've talked a lot about these 100-letter words, and so I'm sorry that you missed them. But then I had a listener reach out who is a musician who specializes, in mashing up James Joyce and the Ramones.
What is this world? I love the planet now.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
before
it's
I was
amazing.
like throw it away, but right now.
So we have a couple of tracks that were sent to us, and I'll just play. So there, I have 2 samples here. One is the mean names that people call HCE, the list that Bridget read. Mm-hmm. So the names that people call HCE mashed up with the Ramones' "Don't Go." So this is a song called "Don't Go Earwicker." So I'm just gonna play just a little Seek sample for that.
Not in these trousers, not by a large jugful. He's fair matched on Peach's number 2, so that if he could only canoodle the tool, Chivy shovel. It's as simple as ABC. ABC. Tip-top tippy canoodle. Can you? Fenny. Ack, ack, ack. With which clap, trap, and soldierment to proceed. Earwicker. Compile a long list to be kept on file of all abusive names he was called. First nighter, informer, old fruit, yellow wigger, wheat hairs, ABC, bauxite beauty, yes we've had his bananas, ABC, York's porker, funny face, at Baggety's bint he bumped, Grease with the butter, open door auspices, Cain enabler, Ireland's 8th wonderful wonder, ABC, Moonface the murderer, Hoary Harry hoax, Midnight sunburst, remove that Bible, Hebdromedary publication, tight before tea time, acoustic disturbance, WD's grace, gibbering behemoth of Dublin. His father was a Munzucker and she had him in a growler. Burnham and Bailey, artist, unworthy of the homely Protestant religion. Terry Cotter, you're welcome to Waterfood. ABC, Lobster Pot Lardling, Leathertop's Donald, O'Reilly's delights to kiss the man behind the borough. Magogago, Swad Puddlefoos, Loose Luther, Hatches Cock's eggs, Muddle of a plan, Look before wedlock, I divorce thee husband, Go to Helena or come to Coney's, Firewall Puff Puff his bride, Peculiar person, Grunt Owl's factotum, 12 months aristocrat, Lycanthrope, Flunky Beetle vamps the tune letting on his lonely, Thunder and Turf married into Clondor, Left Boot sent on approval, Tommy Furlong's pet plagues, Last past the post, Kinelly won't tell thee of Nancy's gown, All out, Twitch Brash Balls, and at number 111.
That's just a sample. So this was created by Tommy Mackay, who I will link to all of his stuff in the show notes. But the other one that he created, I'm not sure if it was he heard it through our podcast first or if he heard it elsewhere. But But on hearing about Thunderwords, he created another mashup based on the theme song from an old 1960s TV show called Thunderbirds. You remember Thunderbirds?
Oh, I sure do.
Okay, you ready for this? This is...
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thunderwords are go.
Herkad Huskurum Bauer Grua Yagakor Lior Drum Bremet Gunhu Bruno Funo Rabid Illy Fata Tilly Bummel Nukkanen. Clickak Blackak Blaskak.
So this contains all 10 Thunderwords over the top of the Thunderwords theme song.
Lady Yuckfell, Mucklenberg, Hura, Horace, Scortus, Strumput, Ponen, any Coxapas, Tippa Tappa Tupper, Strip, Puttanach. Thing, Crookly, Exon, Every, Pasture, Six Sticks, likens him around hers, the nagger by Kin Can with down mind looking gated. Luckad Doeren, Dunan, Dura, Scuti, Lushu, Fairmoy, Porter, Turi, Zui, Svalna, Borton, Sporthau, Kansak, Roy, Deverish, Kapaka.
I won't play it all, but I will also link to that. So we have the Thunderwords go.
I'm amazed. Little known fact, I've seen every episode of the Thunderbirds.
There you go. Isn't that cool?
I haven't heard that theme song in so long. Because, when you're done with the Thunderbirds, you're done with the Thunderbirds. Like, right. There's no reason to go back. But
No, just move on to Team America, World of Police.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, I just thought I'd just put those out there. Tommy Mackay, a very clever fella. He did an entire album of Ramones mashups with Finnegans Wake, and plenty out there to see. Creativity. I love it. So we're going to move on and start doing a bit of a reading. As always, we're reading from the Penguin Modern Classics edition of Finnegans Wake, published in 2000 with a foreword by Seamus Dean. Today we'll be reading the third part of Chapter 2-3 from pages 355 to 370 in this edition. This is a segment entitled Tales of the Inn, a chapter obscured by heavy drink, with teller and tale melting into each other, and includes the tale of After Last Orders by the Oxford World's Classic edition of 2012, which also includes brief summaries of what's happening in each subsection, which we'll address at the end of the reading. And now, without further ado, Finnegans Wake. Shut 'm up, and bid it down well right, and if he sung dumb in his glass darkly speech lit face to face and all around, voci ferrigiticant, vice verse sounding, namely Abdul Abul Amir or Ivan Schlavansky Schlavar, in all the confusulum, as to whom the major gilt feather pertained, it was Hercus Hibbot's care to educe. Beauty's bath she's found to bind beholders in pride, his purge, has place a point in penance, and the law's own libel lifts and lames the low on the lofty. Be of the housed. While the Hersey hunt, they harrow the hill for to rout them rollicking rogues from, rule those racketeer romps from, rein their rockery rides from, rambling. Night closed around the conquerod's sway, after their battle thy fair bosom. That is too true enough in Solidan's island, as in Multern Geomeni, and from the Amalakans off to date back to land of engines Egyptians, assented from his opening before his inlookers of where an oxman's tongue stalled stabled the well-nourished one, Lord of the 7 days, overlord of sats and sons, sat of all the sons which are in the ring of his system, of the sats of his son, god of the scuffled, fallen, skill-filled felon, who he contains, hangsters, who he constrains, hearsers, again changeful, a mintage vasta, heavy on shirts, lucky with shifts, the topside humpup stomach atween his show-doze fella, misto T. Wiley spillet shops, who keepeth watch in Cummer Pet, whose spouse is Anne Liff, the dog's bladder, warmer of his couch in 4. We all, from whole men is lepers, have been nobbut wanterers in that childerness, which is our true name after the all falters, mug's luck to 'em. And bespeaking of love and lie detectors in venue verities, what either the drug's truth of it was there an iota from the Faust to the Lost, and that is at most redoubtedly an overthrow of each and ilka man of us, I persuade myself, before Gow, gentlemen, so true as this are my coffin pot astrode on these is my board soldereds. It solicited, grovelling humbly, his roundhouse of 7 orifices, of all guilt shouters or crime mummers, to be sayed by codnops, advices for, free of gracies, scamps included, competitioning them, if they had steadied jura or when they had raced messaphysi, husband of your wife better or best man botcher lover of you yourself. How comes ever a body in our tailorized world to salve out this his, whether it gives a premium nobiles for our notomise or naught, the farst wriggle from the ubivants, whereom is man that old offender, another man, while he is the same, and full exampling, the pints in question, with some by-spills, and 6x to prove him hurtig. Soup's on! A time. And a fine time, wherein I was a kidling, and the Terekies held sowen sopper, let their beam a frish fray, and they sowed good rude broad weed said mead in the candle drum. I have just, let us suppraise, been reading in a suppressed book. It is not withstempting by measures long and limited. The latter press is eminently legible, and the paper, so he eagerly seized upon, has scarcely been buttered in works of previous publicity, albeit in keener notcase would I turf aside for pasteurization. Packen paper painteth whom to his sacred scriptured sign. Who straps it, scraps it, that might, if ashed, have helped. Enough, however, have I read of it, like my good bedst friend, to augur in the hurry of the times that it will co-commend the widest circulation and a reputation coextensive with its merits, when inthrusted into safe and pious hands upon so edifying a mission as it, I can see, as is his. It is embellished with expurgative plates, replete in information and campaigning the action passion, slop bang whiz crash boomer rattling from burst to past, as I have just been seeing, with my warmest venerations of a timorsome townside up the country lifer, God place the town, all those ever whelmed upon that preposterous blank seat, before the word craft of this early woodcutter, a master of vignettes, and our Findus Grobsmid among all their orifices, and Shuka and Choda, so splendidly English. Mr. Auberon Birdsley, chub good chob, arson cheap and well will worth a tryat. Bismillah Fulties, but the hazard you asks is justly ever behind his metal throw. Those sad, poor, sad foreign gangsters, dasty chappy dusty rust, chairs. It is that something or been in that fellow, Hamed and Damed, did he have but Hugh de Brassey's Beardsley in his wear mind of ancient Gust, which cumqueers this anywhat Persian, which we, realizing us with pure-ups a dard of peen. There is among others pleasons whom I love and which are favourists to mind, one which I have pushed my finger in for the movement and, but for my seal ring, is none to hand, I swear. She is highly characteristic and there is another which I have fondly fingered frequently. And when my signet is on sign again, I swear she is deeply sagnificant. Culpo di Dido, as we say in the classes. Constable, we others say. What ravening shadow, what doubly line, not the king of this age could richly eye feast in oriental long gardeners, with alternate night joys of 1,000 kinds but one kind. A Shah-Rar cobbler on me when I am lying, and while I doot my sliding panel and I hear caw, I have been idly tumbling over the loose loaves, leaflets, jaggled casualty on the lamatory, as I must commit my lips to make misface for misfortune, often, so far as I can chance to recollect from the some far nights ago. So dim sweet is that selvage disdainiance of to not to be able to be obliged to have to hold further anything than a stone his throws fruits for. When I, if you will, excuse me for me, this informal leading down of ill-expressibles, enlivened towards the author of nature by the natural sins ligand be limed theirs before me, how differentiated differended with the man-made Eonox Constantinopolis, whether they be of a general Gulf stature, asserted, or blossomly and blushing thems elves under need of some houthern follies, am entrenched up contemplating of myself, with my naked eye, for relieving purposes in our truly veritable garden. I sometimes, maybe, what has justly said of old Flanagan, awake from this or hunts for words, with some shock, shall I so render it, have, when I ope my shylight window, I see cuckoo, a notion quiet, involuntary, and of that I am cadging hapsnots, as at murmurandoms of distant re-nations from fixed similar phases, or dugouts in the behind scenes of our earthwork. What revining shudder, what deadly loom, as this is, at no spatial time processly which regards to concrete chronology, about which, in fact, at spite of I having belittled myself to my gay gift name of insectarian, happy burgages abeyance would make home sweet town hoopy goa lucre, my motto propria, as I claim cad struct, I coined, I am highly pelaged, and deeply gluttoned to mind hindmost hearts, to see by their loudest reports from my three-spawn bottery parts, that columbolophile and corvinophobe alike, when I have remassed me, my travelling self, as for Magellanic clouds, after my contractual expenditures, through the periphrases of Mirlim, I, my good grief, I am big all too gooda.
He beached the bark of his tail, and set to husband and vine. And the harbour master told all the living conservancy, no Mackay na, how that when again was in again, flying the purse royal, with all a border, Padar and Madar, Hal and Sal, the sons of air with the Dutchers of Iran. Amik, Amak, Amok, in a muck tub. Kith, the Tau Lulus, and the Griffs at Finnegans Wick, the Wildmans. Washed up white in delivered right. Loud lauds to his luck hump and bajetties on Jonah's, and they winked and wanked like Bailey beacons, till we woked up older men, from whose plutibust, preaggravated by Bacchus-chark theologies, their Wainine on Tharti Herones in that Alraskil Arjadux Draken. They were who like placed to say, in the matters of Dukeman's non-bar one, with bear's respect to him and bull's acknowledgments. Come on now, girls, lead off. Okara, whichever one of you wins. The two Jemos and Jane Agra and Judy Tomboys. Dissembling and taking him apart, the Slemics, with discrimination for his maypole and a rub in passing over his hump, drogeries in inedicence, fronds, feces, and frithstool. I. He hated to diet. 1. He hated to diet, the beetle. 2. He did it himself, Hod's fush. 3. All ever the pelican huntered with truly fond bullpen backthought since his torque human life where his personal low outhired his tutoriism. The Ornor, under the self-hide of his Bessermetal, was forsake in his Chiltern and Lumbo-Jumbo. 4. He was like Finton for Flood, and after sometimes too damned merely often on the save side saw he was. 5. Regarding to Persiettes, or quasi-versing, he was sond no better than he would have been before he could have been better than what he warrant after. 6. Blood, musk, or hashish, as coked, diamond, or pensloid, and bleaching him nude from a all colorine matter, down to a bone ash bits off, he's tink force tank, the same old dust amount on the same old tin cover dull bubble class. Tots titty wink tosser, and bogus bag wind burster. Whether fitting tires onto Danlope boys or fluttering floss for Lorettas, whatever the bucket brigade and the plug party says, Touchant as Arcer of the rum tipple and his camelottery and lioness looting, but with a layman's brute strength, by Jacob and Eschar, and the all salutes or all sallies, what we warn is to hear, Jeff, is the woods of Chirpsy's cries to Singaloo, sweet chariode, and sock him up, the old cant rogue.
Group A. You have a jest, a ham, beaming, listening through, a ham pig, his halted excerpt from John Winston's five-axled production, the coach with the six insides, from the tale of yore, of the times gone by before there was a Hoff King of the Hoof Thing or a Pingapoke and Orland, all sold. Goals Tory by Eric Wiggs is to become Tinturid in Fearson's Nightly, and the Let's All Wake brick-faced in Lucian, Lordell, Jaunty Lahoradell, with Tira Lyra Rondelinus Antinativi we go. Attention, stand at, ease. We are now diffusing among our lovers of the sequence. To you, the dew-folded song of the Nottingales. All's alow. From the sheltered positions in rose scenery hay dying on the heather side of Walderloo, Mount St. John's, Jennyland, whither our allies winged by dusk foil from Moore's Park, swift sanctuary seeking after sun sink gang. Oi boy, hither zither, almost dotty, I must dash, to pour their peace impartial, floor, Florence, Swedish hashed, Lightingale, twin, two sing wooloo. Let every sound of a pitch keep still in resonance. Jim Crow, Jackdaw, Prime, and second with their terse that woe best win them. Now full Theorb, now Dulcifer, and when we press of pedal, soft, pick out the vowelies your name. A mum, you Perry, go lazy, you mere bear, and you Bill Henny, and you Smirky Dainty, and more Bethenhoken, you wreckful the nanneries, with all your bad chump thumpterins penis. We are glucky in our being so far fortunate that Bark and Bay Doyle with man good fox Inchmings having ceased to the moment. So allow the clinkars of our Nocturfield, Knight's sweet Mozart heart, there Carmen Salvi, my quest, my queen, low must wail to cool me airly, coil me curly, wobbler dear. May song end flourish in the underwood, in chorus, long make it flourish in the nut sky, till Thorish, secret hookup. Roganar, loud brags, that soddy old Semph, how high in Vorvar, to which yes he did, capped, that was the answer. And his short, trooping its colors. We knows his ventriloquence, which that rang rippling, bulbolone, I will shally, thou shall willy. You wouldn't, should as you'd remesserer, I hype not. 'Tis golden sickle's hour. Holy moon priestess, we'd love our grapples of mistelos. Moths the matter? Psht! Tabrans come to fell our fairest. O Gu, salam, Carolus. Oh, indeed, and we wear and hoodie crow as air. I soared from the peach, and Miss Molly showed her pair two onto three and away. Wet the bee as to deflowered grindy graces yellow horse. Chemestites, Kelly R. Eridors. Did you I, did you I, did you every see such a way, such why, erwig, erwugger, even in the extremity of the world? Dingledell, the enormous his, our little, we, that long Allen C. one. Let's sit on the ant hill of our frill dress, talk after this day, and making blithe invioled the heart before our groat supper serves to us Pancho's master, and let Harlequin play peep to mine up all our Colombian nations. Wins one is not, twigs two is nil. Tricks trees makes nicks, fares fears stoops at nothing. Until author comes a Ganius and sin pen tricks, he's reformed, will pose him together a piece apace. Shares in Genesis. There's lovely the sight. Sorry me, man weepful, big seat you did here. And teach him twisters and tongue Irish. Pat lad may go to quicken, aspen, ash and yew, willow, broom with oak for you. And move your tail about. Not nice is that, limpet lady. S'pose we try it promisely. Love all. Nay, tell me not tennis. Taunt me threatening. But do now say to Mr. Aristosh, Indian Mingan has to hear, whose joint is out of jealousy now. Why, heavenly body, evilly's boldies, hoppings Garcius, on thy awful. Oh, Beliski me, what a nerve. How a man's in his armor we nurses know. Wing Wong Welly, pity pretty Nelly. Some potty pitted in, will Annie Petty pull it out? Call Kitty Kelly, Kissy Kitty, Killy Kelly. What a Knowles Owl buzzard, but what a neat gels. Here, all the leaves a lift aloft, full o lifting, fell a laughing over Oberleon and his Parasolarius, with their black Thoran guards from the country shillelagh. Ignorant invisibles, innocents immutant. Onzo, Onzo Grutvater, Lodvijik is Onagona named before the bridge of Primrose and his tweed Issa Boldsman is met the Bluey bells now near Dandelion. We think it's a Goriston shame, these Godoms, a lark of lemon ladies, a lurk of orange to twainy men. Your back leg wanted, Buckley Mister, bestly of the Boyne. And they leaved the most levy and leaf times in the most foliaginous till there came the marrer of mirth and the jangthia rapper of all jocularians, and they were as were they never ere. Yet had their laughter one on another, undo the end, and enjoyed their laughings, merry at the times when so grant the high Hallerians us may too.
Cease. Praise. Story walkering around with Justair Ramon Verum. He's swinking about as they think and plan unrail what. Back to Droughty. The water of the face has flowed. The all of them, the Saurigorixers, blotty-eyed boys in that pig's village smoke, a Vegetarian Legion on Druid Circle, the Clandibulon Clam Cartel. Then pulled out and came off, and Raleigh agreed them, roasted malts with toasted burleys, in condemnation of his contemplation, and for the duration till his repopulation upon old Nullcrum foremost in Ironsides, as Camnabel chieftain since, as Salmon trode to explain to Summon, seeing that, as he had contracted out of Island's empire, he might as coolly have rolled to school call, Tarponterboy, a Grampurpoise, the many-fathom bridegroom with the 40-inch bride. Out of the Cupton Clanclord kettle auction, like the solder of a British, he was bound to be and become till the sea got him Willisk. From maker to Mrs. and what he gave was as a pattern. He, that Hun of a horde, is a Finn as she, his tent wife, is a lap, at home on a steed, abroad by the fire. To say nothing of him having done what do you know, how you saw, when you heard, where you wot, the ken-speckled succour, generous as a cock, egregious with garzel, uprighter of age and most embracive of yous all, under heaviest corpus exemption. And who as ever spit her in whoever's howsevers, fondling saving her keepers that mold the bold, she sold to hold the wine that wakes the barley, the peg in his pantry to hold the heavy ache off his heart. The droll delight of deemsterhood, a win from the wood to bond, like the bright lamps, Talmahala, urine out urine, auspicably susceptible, but in expectancy of respectableness. From dirty flock bedding, drip dropping through the ceiling, with 2 sisters of charities on the front steps and 3 evacuant cleansers at the back gaze, single box and pair of chairs, susceptible, occasionally and alternatively used by husband when having writing to do in connection with equitable druids and friendly or other societies through periods of dire want with comparative plenty, thunder burst, ravishment, disillusion, and providentiality, to a sofa albeit of horsehair with a modicum cloth, hired piano, still playing off, used by the youngsters for surreying out Oldstrums, 3 bedrooms upstairs, of which one with fireplace a spectacle, with greenhouse in prospect, particularly perspectable. And you, when you kept at Dolby, were you always, for that time only, what we knew how when we, from that point solely, were you nowhere? There you are. And why? Why, hitch a cock eye, he was snapped on the sly, upsadaising chorus pearls out of the pie when all the perts in Princer Street set up their tinkers' hum. The ran, that keen of old bards. With them newness boys, Pearson screaming off their armsworths. The boss made doves and draves out of the bucknest while herself wears the bowler's hat in her bath. Deductive Almain Rogers disguides his voice, shudders behind, hoax chest note from excessive. Heat wives raising. They just keeps rosing. He jumps, leaps rising. How long?
You known that, Tom? I certainly know. Is their band both satized? Saddenly now. Has they bane reneamed? Soothingly low. Does they ought to buy the papal boy when he footles up their suit? He's their mark to foil the flouter, and they certainly owe. He sprit in his fizz, bracken. He salt to their biz, puddin. He tookled her palum, so gallum is solemn, and he sooked their friends' leave, bonnick lass farewell. Guilty but fellows culpos. It was felt by me, indeed, the submerged doty double-faced told waterside labourers. But since we for at-home's health have chanced all that, the wild whips, the wind ships, the wonder lost for world hips, unto their foursquare trust prayed in aid in plumpty-lump piteousness, which, when it turtled around seeking a thud of surf, spake to approach from inheard-off trespass through minx-mingled hair. Though I may have hawked it, said and selled my how hot peas after theatric squalls from my imprecurious position, and though a chance I could have emptied a pan of backslop down drain by a whiles of lodging a rear from the midden privet appurtenant thereof, salving the presence of the board of wumps and pumps, I am ever incalpable where release of prisoners properly is concerned, of unlifting upfallen girls, where endangered from them is in their open out of unadulterous bowery, with those hintering influences from an angel sexonism. It was merely my barely till there offs, misunderstayed, Meggy Guggy's gig-gag. Code's proof. The rebald danger with they who would bear whiteness against me, I dismiss 'em from the mind of good. He can tell such a story to the 12th maligns that my first was a nursemaid and her fellow was a will-be perambulatrix. There are 20 to 22 thews and leather mail coat schemes preparing to host post for it voluntarily with my valued faux favour to the post puzzles department with large parcels of presents for future branch officings. The Green approved the raid. Schombaum's bode he is a mustering in the groves, while his shul comes mergering along. Once I put myself in their Kirtleys, I were a yearn to leap with them and show me to bisextine. Dear, and lest I forget mergers and bow to you low, marches, attemption. What amazing month of budsome misses are they making, so winkty wish to flit before their kin. To tensure, ears to hears, the skull of a Gaul, for every time he opens that mouth, you could park your Ford in it. He who has paper-treated him into captivities with his inside man by a hock seat of star vision for an average to piece of parchment, cooking up his lenses to be my apocalypsed, the recruiter of a conscriptions, let him be a servant to Kinnahorn. For peace, perfect peace. I have awaited me in a water of Elon, and I have placed my reeds in Tectus before Regis Tower of the perception of tribute in the hall of the city of the Nalb. How concerns any merry aunt, and whosoever grave sobbers it is, peremptory sex of fun to help a dazzle of the other? What for Mucius and Gracious may the Dublin rape the handsomest, and the whole mad nightmare's nest? Tunpother, prison plotch. If ye shouldn't somewhat, well, I am able to owe it, hearth and chimney easy. They seek for Van Flom all worldens merkins. I'll eager make list turpidump under her arkins. Bassat. And if my legitimate was well to rend tig-tag cackling about it, like the Sally Baird she is, to Abbery Ham and the cutie strict, I shall call upon my first among my lost of lyras beyond a jingo banjoist to overcast her, dismissing Mundamanu, all the riflings of her victuum gleaner, my old chuck, she drakes me duck, turning out gay at 90, and well shoving off a boastin' mess like Lot's wives does over her hand-picked husband, as she would be calling, well, from further oil miracles upon all her wafer gods, and renouncing my deviltries, as was I a locally person of caves until I got my purchase on her firm for hold I am. I like to think by their sacrilegion of diamond cap diamond, confessedly in my barren gentle home, to the manhood born, till ladiest day as Panthossoper, to have splet for grunt a peer of bellows like Bacchaculus shakes a rousing guttural at any old serpentine by peaching, all soul we are not unmusical, the worry worst against myself in the defile as a liberator sebasposcable of these mischietites of the first virginial water, who, without an auction of biasment from my part, with gladdest tone are quickiest in it, overho and underwear, the totty, lolly, poppy, flossy, conny, dolly Mawkins. Though I heave a cold on my back and am cooled up to my ears, hoven same times, I used all tides to be as warmer for the meekst and the graced. You are not going to not. You might be three abreasted whole-nosing at a whole hoarding from our Donomir anent Villiers prostitution, precisely Kashkar's tariffs, and it could be double-densed uncountest hour of all bleakest age, with a bad of wind and a barren of rain, non pos mentis, like Novus Elector, what with his marks and their groups, did a doubt should a dare were to you, you would do and dank me, Schenker, dump you, skunk, and fare with me to share with me, hinther and thonther, hant by hont, but by where Dorvening shedders down whose roverly lanes, as yo's were and as ye's is, sure and you would, Mr. MacGurk, be sure and you would, Mr. O'Dwayne, to be sure and you would so, Mr. McElligott, would you not, mom? No mum has the rod does put a stub to the lurch of emotion. My little love of princesses, my dears, the Estelles, Van Nessies, Von Nixies, Voon de Pool, which I had a rail devouts for yet, was it Marley Lois, or just a feel with these, which old man KK, always welly he is showing the full nights for my palm spread was gav to a parley sprig. The curliest weeden old ocean coils around, so spruce a spice for salt horse, sonnies, and as tear to the thrusty as Taylor's spring, when afterborns, when she was look like a little chiat chilled, oh sad, oh ma, by my tide impracing as Beecher seeth, and all the colories fair fled from my foistal cheeks. Popots, where you cancel me, you may forced gauge my bribes. Wicked gapers, I appeal against the light. A nexigence of vividence. Panto boys is on a looser in-lost ballet, girls, supline thrown tights. I have wanted to thank you such a long time, so much now. Thank you. Sir, kindness of bottle holders and very dear friend, among our hearts of steel, fruity no, it will before you, me dear beautiful young soldier, winninger nor any or of rudimental Moscats, before you go to mats, you who have watched your share with your sockbull sodalists on your buntad nogs at our love tennis squats regats suck pump, when on with the balls did deserve the fane, my gold brush gainst her silver nets, to say, be good for the love of goddess and Perthenow, as you reveres your one mother's mitch for match, and while I reveal thus my deep-seat daughter, which was born up pridely out of Med's dreams, unclothed when I was pillowing in my brime, of Saturday Eve, how now, warrant we it? To see, I say, whoa-ho-ho, in stay of execution in re-milcho melicmans, incriminated. What you feel, odd rabbit, upon every strong ground you have ever taken up, by bitterstiff work or batten-staff play, with assault of Turk against a barrack cravel of grape shoots, e'en though Jambuel's defecalities is Terry Shimmyrag's opportunity, if that is grace for the grass, what is balm for the bramblers, as it is that I am the castmatic of old Ruffin, Sippardsly improctor to be seducent trovatellas, the dire daffy dame deaconesses, like why sighs the soothsay singer, the Liliths oft I felt, and when boo-boo brutals and cautiouses only aves at the ogog hogs and the human, then houts blimey in toronation, upkurts and scotcham, I'll tell tale, tell croon, paysecurus, so will nuggets and nippers, that thrash on me stumpin' blows the gaff off mombition, and thit thides or mass makes a good dale to be shat at. Fall stuff.
His vat is air, af Steph was, and dong wonged mahogany till the bomb tomb of the war thrushed in his whole sort of clues. Whist who wooed and welled, bays of ball shaw binding, the desire of Miriam, and this despair of Marion, as Joseph beauties is Jacob's grief, brow, till none, eye, fain, sad, mouth, seeing mem. Look at Lockman. What between the cup girls and the platter boys? And he grew back into his grocery baseness, and for all his grand remonstrance, and there you are. Here endeth Chin-Chin-to-de-bus, with have speak finish, with a hagu for a halt and a pounce foot pants. Pink, please pink. 2, please pink. How to please pink.
Punk. Mask 1, Mask 2, Mask 3, Mask 4. Up. Look about you, Tutty Common. Remember and recall, Cully Keg. When visiting Dan Leary, try the corner house for thee. I'll gie ye credit for Simmons more if ye'll be limping. Our 4 avunculists. And since 3 stories storytelling was much too many, they maddened and they morgued and they lunged and they jowled. Synopticked on the word, till the Juke done it. Down. Like Juke-Leon, the seagoer, when he bore down in his Perry boat, he had raised a slide and shipped his orders and seized his pullets and primed their plumages, the Fionling and doublet, the dun and the fire, and, sending them one by other to fare for Forn, he had behold the residiments of a delusion. The foggy does still going strong, the old thalassocrats of invisible empores, maskers of the water world, facing one way to another way, and this way on that way, from several their four dimensions. Where the lightning leaps from the numbulus, where cooled by called bride leath languid, the bounds wherein born are sullied bodies all atoned a tame arrest. A point, that's all. But see what follows. Ringlings upon wronglings among incomputables about an uncommutable. An angel prophetess, king courier of behests, the caliph in his half skin. What eerie winging one. And the voids bubbly vodes dodos across the which the boommoths from their dupest dupes were in envery and anonymously blowing great. Guns. Keep backwards, please, because there was no good to Gundy running up again. Guns. And it was written up in big capital. Guns. Saying never underrupt great grand Goster Fosters. Guns. And whatever one did they said, the forlings, that on no accounts you were not to. Guns. Not to pad them behaunt in the fear, not to go, tonner water, and bungly well shoot the rising garant. Not to wanly be woking around Jerusalem do at small hours about the Merkelplatz. Smelling oaky bony, this little figgy and aricky beloki, this little pink into porker, but porco dirto, to let the gentleman pedestroles out of the Montebella corporation live his own left leave. Cullibone, by perusal of the pet publicities without invoking his alsos between the Ariki bone and suck, the oaky belloc, and not be always hammer and hummer, treeing unselves up with one excite, but not to never be caving nicely, precisely, quicely, robustly, tenderly, unremarkably, forsakenly, haltedly, reputedly, firstly, somewhatly, yesienly, about the back exits. Never to waken up in place of the broths, never to volen slep in the place of the poots, and aller things, never to ate the sour deans if they weren't having ensign on their conscience. And when in Zumschloss, to never narks cease till the finally ending was consummated by the completion of accomplishment. And thus, within the tavern's secret booth, the wise-height ones who sip the tested sooth bestir them as the just had bid to jab the punch of quorum on the mug of truth. Casey Jowls, they're sudden in the secret. Casey Jowls, they sure are wise. Casey Jowls, the justice's jobbers, for they'll find another faller if they ruse won't rise. Wooly the Whopper.
There is to see. Squarish large face with the atlas jacket, bright browny eyes in blue satin shoeings, peaky booky nose over a Louisiana shirt, ruddy steckle hair besides a straw camel belt, namely Grigorovich, Leonakopoulos, Tarpanacci, and Dougal. And was they's all stare all the time? Yea, but they was. Adoring the games, enduring the studies, undaring the stories and all. Ned? Only snugged then, and cozied after one percepted naught while tough battle outraged the waywards and mean signs of the hinterland supplies demands. And they be gone to splain splication. That host that nast that on the hoose when back turns when he face fronts none in the house his gust has guessed. You bet they is, and knows well down. With, however, what sublation of compensation in the ratification of interpretation by the boys, being they, Mr. G.B.W. Ashburner, S. Bruno's Toboggan Drive, Mr. Fakesgood, Bell Chimbers, Caroline Crescent, Mr. I. Chataway, Hillygape, Poplar Park, Mr. Q.P. Duodoni, The View, Gazy Pier, Mr. T.T. Archdeacon, Multiple Lodge, Jiff Exby Road, Mr. W.K. Ferris Fender, Fort, Yeovil Dune Botham, unto whom adding the tout that pumped the stout, that linked the lank, that cold the sandy, that next door the rotter, that rook the rhymer, that lapped at the hoose, that joke spilled. They had heard said written, Fidelisat. That there first a Rudrick King come to a inn court, and the sate of that yard was a perchy pole with a louver gloover on it. Last monarch's mathis man, when one shift winneth woman's. So how would it hum, who son of a witch, if some of as was to stunt the story on? So many needles to ponk out, as many noodles as are company. They noddling all about it, tutti to tempo, decumens numbered 2. Well, that the secretary bird, better known as Pandoria Paulabuca, whom they thought was more like a solicitor general, indiscriminatingly made belief mid-orthogagations from Shelm the Pellman to write some words to senders about her Chilican puck, laughing that Poulabec would be the death of her. That Madge's tie, that postulate auditress, when her dare moods are Gronian, is always on the who goes where, hoping to Michael for the latter to turn up with a capital T before her ephemeral comes off, without any much farther, which is parting parcel of the same Guillermo's post office, it being lookwise on the whence blows weather, helping mickle so that the loiter end of that leader may twaddle out after a cubital lull, with a hope soon to ear, comprong? Becakes the goat's man on question, or whatever the hen the bumbler was, feeling not up to scratch, bekicks of whatever the kidding's pain inge and popper meant for him, though he wants at a through love, true grieving through danger, as a nearish percent to his minstress, divorced the pair of them Mather Carai's chuckling, Panta Blanche, and skittered his litters like the Cavalieri man on Cobra Park for unjaborn Yenkelmen. Jeremy Truvis or Keepin' O' Keepers, any old how and any old when, and when he went around Dick's Darethly dung bin, remarking scenically with laddie-like lassitude upon what he finally post-scrapped. After it's so long till I thanked you about, I do so much more now, thank you so very much as you introduce me to forks. Will these remind to be sane? Full step, alliothermetry, or just zoot doonfloon? Nut it out, PBI, on a mass of mancy knaves. But, top, you were in the same boat of yourselves too, get a bot off or tramp lasering, and you receptionated the most delicious of millisk, which it all flow worried your droopling Dunlearys, but dribble a drob went down your rot hole, meaning Kelly, Grimes, Phelan, Molyneux, O'Brien, McAllister, Seeley, Coyle, Hines Joins, Naylor, Trainer, Corsi, De Corsi, and Gilligan Goal. Oh, man.
This man
that
dirty.
Was Chapter 2-3, Part 3 from Finnegans Wake. Oh, lots of fun stuff in that one. How you feeling, Ryan?
I'm feeling great.
Good. You should be.
I kind of just like dissociated. Like I was like so in it. And then I was like, I don't remember doing any of that. Like I'm like I just was on another planet, but it happened. So
Yeah. You just go into that red mist.
The white room, like
That's right.
Yeah, I got another insult out of this, so I'm excited.
Oh, good. Which one did you find?
But dribble a drub went down your rot hole. I'm sorry. That's so good. And also when someone just won't say something, nut it out, PBI.
Yeah, very much as you introduced me to forks.
Yeah, that was great. I was able to do so much more because you introduced me to forks.
Yeah, obviously we're interpreting everything literally, but it's there's nothing wrong with just identifying something that sounds fun to say or is sort of sounds. I'm sure the purists out there are all saying, but that's a very important allusion to ancient Greek philosophy. But
great,
for us,
sure, Jan.
It sounds funny. So how did you feel? Did you catch anything that was going on in there, Ryan, or it was just words?
It was just words to me. As someone who's not, I'm not caught up, so I'm like, I feel if there was story beforehand that I may understand, I didn't, but it seems that there may not be.
So I'll let you know something. It doesn't matter if you're caught up. It won't matter.
It won't.
It doesn't matter. No, you could be an expert up until now. He's still going to throw you these curveballs. And just keep saying guns.
Which I
was like, that's great.
Yes, very American.
I feel attacked.
That's okay. I don't mind. I'm all smug and safe up here in Canada.
It's funny that you say that. And last weekend I played paintball for the first time, and I was like, "This is the closest I'm getting, y'all. Like, this is it."
That's it.
So yeah, lots of really fun things to say in here. A lot of the repetition, the precisely, quiesly, robustly, tenderly, unremarkably, forsakenly, hurriedly, reputedly, firstly. All of those just the repeating sounds are obviously very much meant to be heard. We're hearing those rhythms and the way that it rolls out. That really doesn't hit in the same way when you're reading them off the page, and suddenly you find yourself in the thicket of something that Joyce is very clearly having fun writing.
Mm-hmm.
It's lots of fun to read. KC Jowls as well.
It's such a good name.
Yeah. That'll be the sequel to your Festy King play. Will be Festy King and KC Jowls, detective agency.
No, it's just their date, but they're at the bar where they're hearing all the bad things.
Right.
So they're like, who's this man that everyone hates?
I liked on page 369, Waywords and Mean Signs are there, which is the name of a fairly conspicuous Finnegans Wake resource that's out there that I have already that we mentioned in some of our earlier notes. So they've taken their name from this line at the top of page 369, the Waywords and Mean Signs. And so it's always nice to find what people have been inspired by. And then the aside of peace, perfect peace.
Yeah,
I saw that and was like, oh, is that the tattoo? With the bracket.
So Toby and I are getting tattoos when we finish this. Mine,
as you should.
Finnegans Wake tattoos, yeah.
Yeah, mine was gonna say it was life, but was it fair? It was free, but was it art? But now it's gonna say asphalt body and concrete soul, which is such a banger.
Yeah, that's pretty badass.
So we've been looking for Toby's tattoo.
You got two biceps, one either side.
Here's the thing: I only get tattooed on my left side. I don't know why.
Fair enough. Well, again, that just gives you the second half of your life. You get a whole new canvas to work with.
Exactly, and Ryan, you can get a tattoo with us.
Could be fun.
Yeah. Why not? Yeah, big tattoo of the edition of Finnegans Wake that took you so long to find.
Yeah, like this face on the cover of mine,
yes,
like that, just like on my chest. Yeah,
yeah.
I think that'll work.
It works. I think it works.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. The Coach with the Six Insides, which sounds like the worst horror movie ever made.
It is pretty rough. Yes.
When I'm assuming coach means a high school teacher with a whistle. I know that's not what Joyce meant, but that's how I choose to picture it.
But we don't know.
Yeah. I must apologize to you, TJ, when I was doing the cut. I did the cut a few days ago, and then I sent it off, and then I got there and I was like, "Oh, TJ doesn't have anything to read this week. I don't know what I did." So
you know what? It's fine.
I'm not mad at you. I wasn't punishing you, putting you in the naughty corner or anything like that.
I took it as you being like, I know his job is stressful. Like,
good.
He needs a break.
I take the small kindnesses when I can get them.
Good. I'm glad that you took it that way, because I suddenly was like, wait, I just gave him like 9 lines to read here on page 366. That sucks.
It's okay.
I always look forward to reading, which is why I always give myself the most, because I'm greedy. And also because, I'm the one who had the idea of getting this going in the first place. But
I kind of loved the what between the Cup Girls and the Platter Boys. Can you just imagine you walking around? Oh, look at those Cup Girls over there.
Well, I mean, in terms of what's happening there, let's just see what the Oxford Wells Classic summarizes each of these sections. And this is following the page and line numbering conventions that stand for this text. So this was chapter 2-3, and we read from page 355 to 370. This is called Tales at the Inn, a chapter obscured by heavy drink with teller and tale melting into each other. And this section is titled number 3, After Last Orders. So from page 355, line 8 to 358:16, we hear the innkeeper's response. And this is to all of the previous stories that have been told. In the innkeeper's response, all men are fallen, himself included, but those rumors are false. Obviously, the fall of man is a major theme here in this book. Page 358:17 to 359:20, the customers are unimpressed. 359:21 to 361:31, a distracting radio broadcast, a duet sung by 2 women and a laughing chorus. 361:32 to 363:16, the customers, the 12, gossip about HCE and ALP. They just can't stop talking about these two. It's crazy.
They're obsessed.
Yeah. And then 363:17 to 366:31, HCE's confession and defense. 367.7 to 370:22, the 4 judges respond and voice their theories. So, do we have some closure coming? Remains to be seen.
How many more pages we got? That's like
we have 258 pages left after this. So,
it'll take that whole time.
I think so. So, obviously, in terms of narrative, I mean, it's a different kind of reading. Like we've said, we're not reading for meaning. We're not reading for sense necessarily. We're not reading to clarify how to understand the story as it moves forward. This, by nature, folds back in on itself. So it means that you didn't need to listen to the previous 23 episodes, and you could pick it up at literally any point throughout. And then, like we said in one of the earlier episodes, this is so cyclical that it just gets to the end and starts again. So I would say, Ryan, did you get any of that? But how could you have?
I think I would have been just as confused.
Well, and that's the thing, is we have guests on every week, and every week they all say, "Oh, I'm confused," but I always get the sense that they're saying, "Well, I'm new, so of course I'm confused." But TJ and I, we are not doing any better. We try really hard.
Very good to hear. That makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah, we try really hard to understand it and to follow along and pick out, like, every time there's a play on the initials HCE, I always think, oh, okay, there he is, and it's always a different kind of acronym or different kind of use of the acronymism. And every time the word Wake comes up, or Tim Finnegan, or all these different kinds of figures, or Festy King, or Poolbeg, or these Shem the Postman, Penman, and all these guys. But really, it's just, I don't know.
No idea.
It's really difficult. It's like trying to, I don't know, scoop out grains of salt from the ocean, and you sort of get bits and pieces, but putting it all together it's not for a cold reading. I think that's clear.
And you will be happy to know that the only thing I usually pick out, and I'm like, that's sexual. Thank you, James George.
Yeah.
Like those are the things I can be like, oh, I know
get
what that is.
Yeah, anytime it's dirty, TJ's on it.
Yeah.
We need to get you one of those sirens. So every time you hear it, you just hit the air horn.
Yeah, there was a couple times I was like, is that what I think it is? Because I don't know about that,
Yeah, it probably is. It
Yeah,
probably
yes,
is. Yeah,
yes.
Joyce had certain kinds of tastes, which is why we love him.
Yeah. More power to him.
Yeah. So, it's one of those chapters that is a little. It's dense, but it's also got a real personality to it because there is all of that sense of the drinking in the bar and the different characters going back and forth and the real joy of Irish personalities bouncing off one another, and which is maybe fairly heavily romanticized in the Western world, though we tend to, like, I don't know if you saw the Netflix show Bodkin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, about the American podcaster going to do a podcast about disappearing people in Ireland and him idealizing this idea of beautiful Ireland and then realizing that it's not really as pretty as he thinks it is. It's kind of seamy and scary and real. It feels a lot like that, where it's very easy to get that lyrical sense of Ireland in there, but then the reality of it and the way that they're all treating HCE and these things, like with the drink, it's not pretty at all.
Yeah, these people have been drunk for chapters. They've been drunk for hundreds of pages. So
yeah. Guinness comes up a lot.
A lot.
Yeah. So, anything else that we missed on today's? I think we covered a lot of good stuff, and a lot.
You did a great job, Ryan.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, thank you for joining us. What are you up to these days?
That's a good question. Right now I'm freelancing, which is
That's okay.
so fun.
Freelancing is good.
I'm
managing to live in New York City. That's pretty fun in itself.
I'm set dressing haunted houses and other interactive experiences at the moment.
There you go. Use that theater degree.
I'm using that theater degree. I'm using all of the parts of my degree that I didn't take classes in.
What was you used your theater degree quite impressively recently in a way that my daughter was impressed with.
Yes, I did set dressings for an interactive experience for the kids show Bluey.
Amazing.
Which was very dumb, but fun. And I did not take any classes about props, scenic, anything in college, but here I am building sets and props. So take the work where you can get it, I guess.
Right.
Well, now that I know that you are in New York, whenever opportunities pop up that I know of, I will send them your way.
Thank you. And I'm also podcasting myself.
Nice.
Yes, I'm a podcast producer now, which is
so
weird.
Yeah. So tell us all about it. What do you?
Yes, my book club, the New York City Book Club for Book Hoes, because we're hoes for a good book. We have a podcast called the Book Hoes Podcast.
Amazing.
Sorry to the children. We talk about books we're reading and book club. We interview authors for the books that we read because we entirely read debut authors.
Beautiful.
Excellent. And we'll link out to that in the show notes.
Yeah, we have about 30 episodes. Sometimes I'm on the mic. Most of the time I'm just engineering, but yeah.
Excellent. And I'm just curious, what does given what we were talking about before, what does this do to you?
Are you trying to traumatize me? I haven't been able to watch the show since I did that project yet because it's still too soon. Because the thing is that there are all these motion sensors that play the different like sound clips throughout the experience, and they installed those first under the floors, and then they put down the floor, but they couldn't turn them off. So every day we were working 12-hour shifts, and we would walk through a room, and the sounds would just start playing all day on repeat. And there are like 100 people in this room, so it was constant. And then the final day, this thing opens at like 10 a.m. We're in the space at 5:30 a.m. finishing, and they start they started testing the sound for the theme song. So they're just playing it on loop for like half an hour between like 5:30 and 6 in the morning, and I felt unwell.
And you texted me all about that day, and
which is why when you were in Australia, I was awake. Like I could text you while you were in Australia because I was doing overnight shifts. So it worked out.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, you should contact the university and see if they'll put you on the alumni page, because look what you can do with a theatre degree.
I'm good. But thank you.
Yeah, of course. It's been so nice to have you here. It's so nice to see your face again.
It's been great to be here. Long. Yes.
Yeah. And it's a really nice excuse just to get my people back together to sort of.
Oh no, there's more.
I found more pictures of Space Pirates of Planet.
Oh, thank God.
We'll be posting pictures of Space Pirates for the Planet Penzance all over our Instagram as soon as once this episode comes out. So looking forward to that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Ryan, 18-year-old Ryan, as a musical theatre performer before you found out that wasn't what you were going to do anymore. Amazing. Well, that is all the time we have this week for Wake. We will return next week to take in our final tale at the inn with another special guest. I've been Toby Malone, joined as ever by TJ Young. A huge thanks to Ryan Benson Smith for joining us this week. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you for having me.
And we will see you next week, time management specialists.
This has been Wake, a cold reading of James Joyce's Finnegans Wake, just to hear it out loud. If you've made it this far, thank you for your dedication. Join us next week for another segment of Finnegans Wake and a chat about what we've found. Wake is a Moon Street Media podcast, engineered by TJ Young and Toby Malone. Our theme song is The Ballad of Perce O'Reilly, arranged and performed by Meg Logue after James Joyce. Wake is recorded in Canada, where Finnegans Wake is in the public domain. For community and bonus content, join us at our free Patreon at patreon.com/wakepod. If you have questions about Finnegans Wake, don't ask us. We're just as confused as you are. See you next week.